The next item on the agenda is public communication, but we have no one who has signed up, so we will press forward from there. Next up, Superintendent recommendations and reports.
Thank you, Mr. Begley. At this time, Mr. Martin will be covering the items listed under Personnel Professional.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Begley and members of the board, I have quite a few items this evening under Personnel Professional. Item 1, resignations, letters A through O. Let's say 0, just O. This is a time of year that we kind of pick up our resignations. People are getting ready for the next year or their next phase in life. I did want to mention a couple of those that appear on here. Item B is Susan Buckley. We just recognized her this evening. She's been a 4th grade teacher at Central. She's got 26 years in education in 3 different states, but 22 of those years were right here in Fairfield. And I know she's been a great teacher and worked very hard. So we appreciate her. Also, I draw your attention to letter H, Lisa McMullen, who teaches 7th grade math at Crossroads. She has 27 years full-time teaching, and also 22 of those years are in Fairfield. So congratulations to these retirees. Item number 2, extracurricular resignation for 21-22, letter A. Item 3, unpaid leaves of absence, letters A through D. Item 4, non-renewals, letter A. Then we have item 5, employment. We have a long list of employment I want to talk about. Before I get into all of those items, I would like to highlight one of those. Mr. Ryan Bellamy is here with his family this evening, and we are proud to present to the board for consideration this evening Mr. Bellamy as the senior high school principal for next year. And Ryan comes to us. He's been in several school districts. He was at Forest Hills Local School District as a 6th grade teacher for a year. And then he moved to Hamilton City Schools, and he was there for 6 years as a coach, as a teacher, and as an administrator. The first 4 years, he was 7th grade science. 1 year, he was the assistant principal at the freshman school. And then 1 year, he was the assistant principal at the middle school. And then we were able to coerce him to come to Fairfield, where he has served here in the high school for 3 years as the assistant principal. He's distinguished himself. We have a very strong high school assistant principal crew, and they're here this evening. He has distinguished himself, and he came out on top, and so we are recommending him this evening as the candidate for the high school principal. Would you like to introduce your family who's here, your friends and family? I know you've got a big fan club there, but sure. Start with Grandma.
So my grandma Lucy, my grandma Bertha. Obviously I have my wife and kids, Christy, Lucy, and Bo. My brother, Brandon, brother-in-law in the back, Jordan, with my nephew Cruz, my Aunt Marietta, my mom Pam, cousin Josh, my uncle Rick, and my dad John.
Awesome.
Great.
Let's give them a big hand.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
You'll want to really enjoy him this summer because next year you're not going to see a lot. No, I'm just teasing. He will balance it all out, work and family life, so that's awesome. Congratulations, Ryan. So this evening we have for employment letters A through I. Letter J, elementary summer school tutors for this summer. Letter K, EL summer camp facilitators. Letter L, extracurriculars for the current school year. Letter M, EL tutors. Letter N, substitute teachers. Letter O, non-renewal of substitute teachers for the end of the year. I said it was through O, but we actually have more. Letter P, substitute nurse. And letter Q, volunteer coach. That concludes the items I have this evening for your consideration under Personnel Professional.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Do I have a motion to accept these recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Clark and Mrs. Shorter. And before we vote, I just want to, Mr. Martin alluded to it, but I want to recognize Dr. Salyers, Mr. Blankenship, Mr. Sanders, and of course, Dr. Rice, for coming and supporting Ryan. It shows how close that administrative team is and how they support each other, and I think that's a great thing, and what a wonderful environment to be walking into with your peers here tonight. So thank you for being here. Mrs. Lane, please call the roll.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Shorter?
Yes.
Mrs. Gundram?
Yes.
Mr. Begley?
Yes.
This time, Mr. Perry will be covering the items listed under personnel support.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Begley, members of the board, I have the following items for your consideration under personnel support. Number 1, resignations, A through G. Number 2, unpaid leaves of absence, A through H. Number 3, employment, A through E. And that includes the items for your consideration under personnel support.
Great, thank you. I will entertain a motion to accept these recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Gundram, Mr. Clark. Mrs. Lane, call the roll.
Mrs. Gundram?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Shorter?
Yes.
Mr. Begley?
Yes.